Now, when it comes to your home's air quality and comfort, as well as its energy efficiency, you have to look at things like energy sealing and home insulation. Now, in today's episode, Cord Airhart is going to take us through what's involved on that front.
One of the most important things happens behind the walls. Behind the walls, what we're doing is we're making sure we're building a tight, energy efficient house. One of the things that can really negatively affect energy efficiency is any air movement in the wall. We do our sealing on the outside with our Tyvek, our Pella windows, our taping to make sure we don't get any air infiltration. We fill our walls with new wool insulation, which really reduces any air movement. But as a part of that, we do an Energy Seal 1 and an Energy Seal 2, which you don't see. We do the Energy Seal 1 before we insulate the home, making sure any holes in any exterior walls around the windows, all of that is thoroughly insulated, where we're doing caulking and spray foam. That is our Energy Seal 1. Energy Seal 2 actually happens after we drywall, where we come back in and we caulk the bottom of the drywall against the wall to make sure there's no air movement there. We also go around to our electrical outlets, our recessed lights, and we caulk to make sure we have a really good solid seal in those areas so there's no potential air movement in those areas, because air movement is one of the most negatively impacts the comfort and energy efficiency of a home. Now, you saw our Energy Seal 1 process where we went in and foamed and caulked plates and do all that to make sure that we didn't have any air infiltration. And now we've insulated the house. Our insulators come 3 different times. The first time they come, they're doing the walls and any ceilings that we can't access. Maybe it's a vaulted ceiling or something like that. They're doing the insulation in those areas. Once we drywall the home, they'll actually come back and we'll blow all of our insulation in the attic. So that's the second visit they do. And we'll get that all done. In fact, if you ever look up in your attic, you'll see measuring devices up there to make sure that they fill to the proper level to ensure that we have the desired amount of insulation in our attic. And the final time they come is when we come and we insulate our basement walls on the inside of the house. And we do our rolled insulation in those areas. And so those are the 3 times that we come in to insulate the house. So you've seen the cellulose, the new wool cellulose go in. And the reason that we use cellulose are for a couple of reasons. Number one, we believe that it fills the cavities much better than fiberglass insulation does. There's no hand cutting or anything, it's sprayed in. So every nook and cranny in a wall is filled, which is so important. The other thing is that it does a great job with convection currents. Now, what are convection currents? Convection currents are when warm and hot air meet. So in the wintertime, you've got a cold exterior, you've got a warmer interior, and when those start to meet inside of an insulated wall, you actually get some air movement. Fiberglass insulation allows much more air movement for convection currents. And actually the R factor, as it gets colder, the R factor in fiberglass insulation gets worse. And that's why we use cellulose, because there's almost no convection current that occurs when you use cellulose insulation in a wall, because there's almost no ability to use air movement. Now, we've talked about California corners when we talked about the framing, and here's a great example of what the insulation does. So if you remember, the California corner would leave a pocket open behind the wall, so the insulation has now been sprayed in, goes behind the pocket, so we've got a fully insulated area in this wall that butts up against the wall, and to provide more insulation. Another great aspect of cellulose insulation is it treated with a fire retardant, so it's almost like fireproofing each wall. The other thing is it's actually treated with a mold inhibitor, so that as it's sprayed in, it actually, once again, treats the interior wall cavity with a mold treatment so that you won't have mold growth. As another benefit of it, It is really good sound deadening. Now, it's not soundproofing, but it does a great job with sound deadening. In fact, as you walk around the house, you'll see some interior walls that have cellulose insulation blown in. And the reason that we do that is because we've got plumbing pipes that can make some noise, especially the waste pipes. And so we put insulation around those cavities that the waste pipes are in to help us in the sound.
In the next episode, we cover some of the interior finishes being installed in the home.